I booked the place because the photos made it look like a cozy movie night. Edison bulbs, brick wall, a plant that could have been fake or thriving. All I needed was clean sheets, decent Wi-Fi, and a working smoke detector. I'm Erin, 31, product designer out of Denver. I travel enough that I've developed rituals. Video the front door before I open it, scan the kitchen for knives that could cut a tomato without bruising it, check the mattress with my phone flashlight, and, most important, press the test buttons on the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. If something dings, I relax. If it doesn't, I don't. This trip was for a client workshop. 2 nights. I booked a studio in a historic building close to downtown and messaged the host, Evan, that I'd arrive around 8. At 8:07 p.m., I rolled my carry-on up creaky stairs that smelled like a candle called Old Parquet. The lockbox code worked on the 3rd try. Inside, fairy lights, art prints, 2 mugs that said live, laugh, and latte. Cute. I did my ritual. I recorded a quick sweep on my phone. Entryway, living area, bathroom. I pressed the smoke detector button. Silence. I pressed the CO detector. Silence. I looked closer. A tiny red light blinked every 30 seconds like a bored robot. The back cover was open. The battery dangled on a wire like a tired tooth. I messaged Evan. Hi, just checked in. Both detectors don't chirp. Battery is loose. Can you send someone tonight? He replied fast. That's weird. Worked last week. Try pushing harder. I tried pushing harder. I could have pushed it through the drywall and nothing would have happened. Could you drop in new batteries? I wrote. He said, maintenance can come tomorrow. Totally safe, though. That building doesn't even have gas. The stove was gas. The water heater, according to a closet label, was gas. The heater, I didn't want to think about. I sent him a photo of the stove and the cereal plate. He sent a thumbs up emoji, the universal symbol for, I am about to minimize your concern. I opened the windows an inch, because that makes me feel like I'm doing something. It was 28 degrees outside. I slept in a hoodie. At 6:30 a.m., I woke up with a front row headache and a metallic taste. It could have been anxiety. It could have been Denver altitude mixed with travel. It also could have been something that rhymes with carbon monobite. I grabbed my bag and stepped into the hallway where the building smelled like nothing again. I messaged Evan. I'm heading to my workshop. Please get the detectors working before tonight. If not, I'll need to relocate. He wrote, maintenance is super slammed. If they can't make it, I'll comp a coffee. A coffee. I made it through the workshop on momentum and muffins. At lunch, I called the platform's safety line. I explained calmly that I was not asking for a host to be punished. I was asking for a working detector in a listing that claimed one. They logged a case and said they'd contact the host and escalate if needed. They also said if I felt unsafe, I should relocate and they'd cover equivalent lodging. At 5 p.m., no update. I messaged Evan again. He replied, battery fixed at 4 p.m., all good. I went back. The battery was still dangling like a participle. Now the tiny red light wasn't blinking at all. I took a video of me pressing the button, the emptiness singing back, the camera capturing my face doing math about oxygen. I messaged the platform and said I was relocating. They moved me into a corporate-ish apartment across the street that had 0 charm and 4 working detectors. I slept like a person who knows, if she stops sleeping, she will breathe and keep breathing. At 10 a.m. the next morning, while I was in a session about wireframes, Evan sent a long message. It started with, hey there, and ended with a $900 charge request. He said I tampered with safety equipment, broke the detector, scratched the hardwood, and left greasy pans in the sink. He attached 4 photos, one of the detector backplate with the loose battery, one of a scratch, a line thinner than a hair that could have been wood grain, a close-up of a pan with a water spot, and a microwave shot with a speck of something that might have been air. I stared at my phone the way people stare at storms. Then I smiled, because this isn't my first rodeo. This is my second rodeo, maybe third. I typed slowly so I wouldn't say anything spicy. Hi, Evan. I didn't cook. I checked in, saw the detectors didn't work, asked you to fix them, slept one night with the window open, and checked out to the alternate lodging the platform provided. Here is a link to my time-stamped videos from check-in and check-out. Also, per your own house manual, guests are instructed to press test buttons on arrival. That's what I did. He replied, "Look, I can reduce it to $600 if you pay today. Otherwise, I go through the platform, and they always side with hosts." That sentence is how you know you're dealing with a person who's never actually read a policy. Platforms don't always side with anyone. They side with whoever has receipts. I opened a note and started a timeline. Friday, 8:07 p.m. Check-in video saved to iCloud. Detector non-functional, battery loose. Friday, 8:15 p.m. Message to host requesting fix. Friday, 8:18 p.m. Host replies, "Tomorrow, says building has no gas. Photo shows gas stove." Saturday, 6:30 a.m. Headache on waking. Relocate window cracked. Saturday, 11:45 a.m. Call to platform safety. Escalation logged. Saturday, 5:02 p.m. Host claims fix. Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Video shows no fix. Relocate to alternate lodging via platform. The platform asked me to upload proof. I added the videos and a photo of the posting where Evan listed smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector under amenities. I attached a screenshot of the city's short-term rental ordinance that requires working detectors in rentals, plus the penalty section for non-compliance. I also did something that, if you've never done it, feels like magic. I filed a 311 report under unsafe rental conditions with the city's fire prevention unit. The online form asked for the address, the issue, non-functional smoke CO detector in occupied short-term rental, and whether I had documentation. Yes. It took 3 minutes. They sent me a case number that looked like it could unlock a spaceship. I didn't tell Evan. I didn't need the fight. I needed a paper trail. An hour later, the platform suspended the listing pending investigation and told me the $900 claim was on hold while Trust and Safety reviewed. They asked for the host's repair proof. They asked whether he had a city license on file. They asked a lot of questions that, if you're a responsible host, you answer with a yawn and a PDF. If you're not, you answer with vibes. Evan sent me a paragraph of vibes. "I've hosted 200 guests with 4.9 stars. The battery was just loose. The scratch definitely wasn't there before. I have another guest checking in today, and you're ruining my livelihood." I said, "Please stop messaging me directly about payment. The platform is handling it. Also, the city is aware." He wrote, "Did you call the city? That's harassment." I wrote, "It's safety." Then I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and solved a donut design problem for the client that had nothing to do with detectors or men named Evan. On Monday, a city inspector called. She was brisk in the way of people who have seen more broken alarms than I've eaten breakfasts. She asked if I would be willing to meet her at the property. I said sure. We met at noon. She had a badge and a device that looked like a calculator from the future. She pressed the buttons on the smoke detector and the CO detector. They made the same sound Friday night had made. None. She wrote a notice and taped it on the inside of the door so no new guest could miss it. She told me, "CO is a silent killer. People wake up dead." Then she handed me a copy of the citation, which included fines for inoperative alarms, absence of replacement battery, and a separate warning about the stove's missing anti-tip bracket. I didn't even know stoves had anti-tip brackets. She said landlords are supposed to secure them so toddlers don't climb and pull a whole oven on themselves. Now I can't unsee it. That afternoon, the platform emailed me the result. Claim denied. Evan had provided insufficient evidence of guest-caused damage and failed to show pre-stay and post-stay condition reports or proof of repair. Meanwhile, they had documented proof of unsafe conditions and guest relocation on safety grounds. They refunded me the second night entirely and added a coupon I didn't ask for. They also said they'd keep the listing suspended until Evan submitted proof of corrected safety equipment and local compliance. Evan messaged me again, not through the platform this time, but to my phone because he'd saved my number from the keypad instructions. He wrote, "Congrats. You got me fined and suspended. You should have just paid the $600. I blocked him. Then I wrote a calm, clear feedback note to the platform. "I'm not interested in a witch hunt, but your verification process for safety amenities appears to be self-reported. Consider random checks for detectors." They thanked me for my valuable input. Maybe that was a template. Maybe a human paused and thought about calling a contractor. A week later, while I was home stirring chili, I got a voicemail from someone at short-term rental licensing. She said Evan's permit had expired last winter, and he'd never renewed it. Hosting without a license carried a separate set of fines. The city was opening a case. I didn't feel vindictive. I felt like someone had found the missing line in a crossword. People like Evan thrive on how busy everyone is. Guests come and go. No one files a form. No one makes a timeline. So the situation persists until a small thing becomes a headline. A month passed. Then I received a check, a physical paper check from the city for $75. It was labeled Witness Participation Stipend, which sounded like I testified in a courtroom drama. I hadn't. I'd answered 2 phone calls and sent them my videos. The real punchline arrived the same day, a mass email from the building's HOA to residents saying short-term rentals are prohibited per bylaws and recent enforcement action has been taken. Someone likely complained about strangers with suitcases, and the HOA, once alerted by the city, finally enforced their own rules. Out of curiosity, I searched the platform 2 months later. Evan's listing was gone. Maybe he changed his host name. Maybe he moved to a different platform. Maybe he sold the place. I hope he learned how to install a 9-volt battery and read a municipal code. People always ask, was I the a-hole now? Did I overreact? I get why they ask. We're taught to grade ourselves on chill. Smoking detectors make it easy to be dramatic about needing coffee, but quiet about needing oxygen. Here's my rubric. 1. If something can kill you in your sleep, you don't overreact, you react. 2. If a system relies on everyone pretending a dangling battery is fine, it's a bad system. A timeline is not an overreaction, it's a mirror. 3. Paying a scam tax doesn't make the world smoother. It makes people like Evan think they're right. I keep my rituals. I still book short-term rentals sometimes because I like kitchens and couches. But I've added a line to my routine. If a detector doesn't chirp, I don't negotiate. I relocate, I report. Not because I'm out for blood, but because oxygen is not an upgrade. Since the story, I've gotten DMs from friends about their own close calls. One discovered her CO alarm was a motion sensor glued to the ceiling like a prop. Another found a smoke detector wrapped in cling film to keep dust out. I mailed them both a 2-pack of alarms from a hardware store because sometimes the fastest fix is a $28 piece of plastic and a Monday morning email. There's a quiet, unglamorous joy in doing things by the book. It doesn't go viral. It goes into a log. A city database clicks resolved. A listing disappears. A new guest presses a test button and hears a chirp. Nothing bad happens. No one writes a story. That's my favorite genre now. The absence of disaster. Did I get anything out of it besides a refund and a coupon? Technically, I got clarity. My headache was probably altitude and a crappy night of sleep, not poison. But the difference between probably and definitely is a chirp. If you're traveling, here's my non-dramatic, aggressively practical advice. Video your check-in. Press every test button like it's your job. If something's wrong, ask once in writing. If it isn't fixed, call the platform and the city. They exist for a reason. You're not bothering them. You're giving them purpose. If you host, bless you. It's a job with reviews where one person's mood can swing your mortgage. But the morality is simple. If your listing claims a safety feature, make it real. Not because of fines. Because people sleep in your rooms. They bring toddlers who think the oven door is a step stool. They wake up craving a coffee, not fresh air. And if you're an Evan who's tempted to send a $900 claim with a photo of a water spot, I have advice. Take the same energy and apply it to a 9-volt battery and a $12 bracket. They install in less time than it took me to type this sentence. They also cost less than the coupon the platform gave me, which I used deliciously to book a place with boring beige walls and a chirp so loud it startled the kettle. So, AITA for escalating a broken detector into a platform suspension and city fines, or was I just a person who pressed a button and refused to pretend it sang?